I said, the rabbis who won't talk about Israel are not friends of Israel, and they are not friends of the Jewish people. Christians who go along with this are not friends of the Jewish people, and this is not what Jesus Christ would want you to do. I said, if you really want to love the Jewish people, help us here. Start talking about it. Get over your guilt. I'm sorry, I can't help you with it, but it's not helping me. That was a moment of truth to me. It's a little grandiose, maybe, to say it this way, but I felt at that point I was called. I knew what I was here to do. And I started to realize that, somewhere around the age of 24, 25, I realized that the Jew I was supposed to be was not the Jew my mother wanted me to be. I mean, hopefully we all go through that at some point in our lives. Maybe some of us are fortunate enough not to have to do that. I did. And I spent 40 years figuring out what it meant for me to be a Jew. I finally have figured it out. Now, people ask me, what is your synagogue? Where are you affiliated? And what I say to them is, you're standing in it. So, I suppose the first thing I want to say to you, kind of sort of presenting the Jewish perspective, is welcome to my synagogue. I think that's what we need to be doing right now. Or we're finished. I think the Jewish people, as a faith community, and I think that's what we are. Maybe we're ethnic, maybe we're a faith community. Maybe you were both. Are facing something as revolutionary and as fundamental as Christianity faced with the Reformation. And I think we're facing a Reformation. We have to look at ourselves. So the answer to my first question was, why are we doing this? Is the other part of my growing up with Zionism and with Rabbinic Judaism was, don't forget, you are special, you are God's chosen. Now, that's really a bum rap. That's a losing proposition. I understand why my grandmother felt that the rest of the world was dangerous and also, by the way, a drunken rabble. That's the legacy for her of Europe. That's what I learned. And that we're better and we're special. That's what we had to do to survive for 2,000 years. I believe that Jewish exceptionalism, the original Abrahamic covenant, the story that is recorded in the Old Testament, incubated for 2,000 years, and now we are seeing the results of it. The checkpoints, the wall, the ethnic cleansing. That's the only way I can explain what Israel is doing today. And we have to get over that. We have to move beyond that. Now, as far as Christianity is concerned, what's your problem? Your problem is that since confronting the ovens 44 years ago, Christianity, global Christianity, but certainly American Christianity, has been involved in a passionate, committed, vigorous program to atone for anti-Semitism and to reconcile with the Jewish people. And that was a good thing to do. But given the current political situation, given world peace, given the human rights catastrophe of modern Israel, and I'm not just talking about the Palestinians, I'm talking about that little girl in that video you saw today, the little girl in Israel who's growing up racist, because that's what she's taught. So it's a human rights catastrophe across the board. Given that catastrophe, what are you going to do? Because every time that your pastor has to deal with a rabbi down the street with whom he has spent all of his time, and he was trained in seminary to do this, to create the ties. And every time you're at a dinner party, or you're invited to a Passover Seder, or you're dealing with your Jewish son-in-law, or your coworker, and you realize that when you bring up Israel, all of a sudden, it changes. Don't go there. You're looking at blowing up 60 years of interfaith reconciliation. And you know what? Maybe you are. I have trouble believing that we are not going to be looking at a struggle against apartheid for the next decades, perhaps. Now, how did apartheid in South Africa end? How did Jim Crow end? It took years, it took struggle, and where did it happen? And where did the leadership come from? So, my charge is to the church. And I think that here in America, you need to find those people in the Jewish community and those people in the Muslim community that will join with you and will work with you and will help you. But I think it's going to be the church in this country. You know what Jim Wallace says? He says, when politics fail, and guess what's happening? Politics is failing here. When politics fail, broad social movements emerge to change the wind and to make the politics follow. You know how the metaphor works. What do politicians do? So if you want to change that, you become the wind and you change the direction that the wind is blowing. And you make the politicians do what they need to do. As far as the Jewish community is concerned, I mean, again, I don't know enough about the Muslim community. I think a lot of what's happening with Islam and the Muslim community here in the United States is that leaders really have to help encourage people and give people courage to stick their heads up. I mean, it's dangerous to be Muslim in this country. And last week, it did not help things very much. So that's the struggle, perhaps, in the Muslim community. In the Jewish community, you know, there are more and more of us who are willing to step outside the mainstream and to take a prophetic stance. But we're exiles in the Jewish community. Okay? One reason this is my synagogue is there are few, if any, synagogues I can speak in. Because rabbis kind of don't want to lose their jobs. Now, that may start to change over time, and I see that starting to change. But my message to the Christian community is, don't wait for us. Don't wait for the Jewish establishment to say, yeah, we're with you, it's okay. The Jewish establishment is not going to tell you it's okay. The Jewish establishment is going to accuse you of breaking the rules. And these are rules that need to be broken. It's time to break those